We see that the Tournament of Power battlefield has once again become completely chaotic. Fighters from different universes are fighting one another. In some places, energy blasts are colliding. In others, hand-to-hand combat is taking place, and elsewhere, fighters are trying to eliminate one another from the arena. But among the Universe 7 fighters stood one warrior who was slowly beginning to draw everyone's attention, and that was Broly. Broly is still in his base form. His body looks relaxed, but the strong warriors around him can clearly feel the power hidden inside him. At some distance, Goku kicks an opponent backward and then looks toward Broly with a smile. Goku says happily, "Broly is maintaining pretty good control so far." Vegeta dodges a warrior's punch, strikes him in the stomach with his knee and says in an annoyed tone, "Will you stop praising his control over and over again?" Goku looks toward him and says, "Why? If he's doing well, I'm going to say it." Vegeta throws his opponent to the side and says, "The tournament has only just begun. Let him face a serious opponent first." Goku smiles. "Looks like you want to test Broly." Vegeta immediately says, "I'm not testing anyone." Goku says with a laugh, "That's not what your face says." Vegeta looks angrily toward Goku. He says, "Focus on your opponent, Kakarot." Goku looks behind him and notices that the warrior he was fighting is coming to attack him again. Goku immediately dodges. He says with a laugh, "Oh yeah, you were still here." Meanwhile, Broly is slowly moving through the middle of the battlefield. Broly is not attacking anyone without a reason. He only responds when someone attacks him. Suddenly, a massive shadow lands in front of Broly. Damn! The ground tiles crack apart. Broly calmly looks up. Standing in front of him is the powerful Pride Trooper from Universe 11, Toppo. Toppo observes Broly for a few seconds. Broly also continues looking at Toppo without saying anything. Toppo says in a serious voice, "You're Universe 7's new Saiyan." Broly calmly says, "Yes." Toppo folds his arms and says, "I've seen some of your fights." Broly says nothing. Toppo continues, "You have a lot of power, but in the Tournament of Power, strength alone isn't enough." Broly quietly asks, "Do you want to fight?" A serious smile appears on Toppo's face. He says, "I want to see what kind of fighter Universe 7 has been keeping hidden." Broly lightly clenches his fists and says, "All right." In the Universe 7 spectator area, Beerus immediately notices Toppo and Broly. Beerus says, "Now this is going to be fun." Whis calmly says, "Lord Beerus, just a little while ago you were worried about Broly's control." Beerus says irritably, "I wasn't worried, I was just being cautious." Whis smiles. He says, "Of course." Beerus gives Whis a side-eye. In the arena, Toppo releases power around his body. A strong red-orange aura begins rising around him. Broly feels Toppo's power. His eyes narrow slightly. Toppo suddenly disappears. The next second, he appears in front of Broly and throws a heavy punch toward Broly's chest. Boom! The impact causes Broly's feet to slide backward across the ground. The tiles begin to break. Toppo instantly throws a second punch. Broly moves his head to the side and dodges it. Third punch, Broly grabs his wrist. Toppo's eyes widen slightly. Still holding his wrist, Broly calmly says, "You're strong." Toppo forcefully pulls his arm back, but Broly doesn't let go of him for a few seconds. Toppo is surprised. He increases his power and finally pulls his hand free from Broly's grip. Toppo jumps backward. He thinks, his grip strength is this strong? Broly rushes directly toward him. Toppo gets ready. Broly throws a punch. Toppo blocks it, but the impact is so strong that Toppo's entire body is pushed to the side. Broly throws a second punch. Toppo blocks again. Third strike. This time, Toppo sidesteps and hits Broly in the ribs with his elbow. Broly moves slightly to the side. Toppo immediately kicks toward Broly's face. Broly turns his head slightly. The kick lands on his cheek. Damn! Broly's face turns to the side. Toppo creates some distance. He says, Don't depend only on strength, Saiyan. Broly slowly turns his face back toward Toppo. There is a light mark on his cheek. There is no anger on Broly's face. Instead, he looks interested. Broly says, again. Toppo looks a little surprised. Broly says, a little stronger. Toppo's eyes narrow. He says, you'll regret that. Toppo suddenly increases his aura even more. He begins attacking Broly at high speed. Left punch, right punch, knee, elbow. Broly blocks the initial attacks. Some hits land on his body. Toppo throws a spinning kick. Broly raises his arm and blocks it. The impact sends a shockwave out around both of them. Standing at a distance, Gohan notices the fight. Gohan pushes his opponent back with an energy blast and then looks in Broly's direction. Gohan quietly says, Toppo is using this much power and Broly is still in his base form. Piccolo lands near Gohan. He says, that Saiyan's power isn't normal. Gohan nods and says, Dad told me Broly was extremely powerful, but seeing it in person feels completely different. Piccolo says in a serious tone, the problem isn't his current power. Gohan looks toward Piccolo. Piccolo continues, the problem is that I feel like he's getting stronger as the fight goes on. Gohan looks at Broly again. There is both concern and amazement in his expression. Meanwhile, Toppo lands a heavy punch to Broly's stomach. Broly bends slightly. Toppo immediately throws an uppercut toward his chin. Broly's head snaps upward. Confidence appears on Toppo's face. But the next second, Broly's massive palm lands on Toppo's shoulder. Toppo is shocked. Broly calmly says, "Got you." Broly is about to grab Toppo by the shoulder and slam him toward the ground when suddenly a blue streak flashes between them. Boom! Broly gets hit from the side by a powerful kick. Broly slides backwards some distance. Toppo is instantly freed. Broly stands upright and sees that between him and Toppo, Vegeta is standing there. Broly looks at Vegeta for a few seconds. He says, "But I was fighting him." Vegeta half turns toward him and says, "Not anymore." Broly calmly asks, "Why?" A vein begins to pop on Vegeta's face. He says, "Because I said so." Broly says in a simple tone, "That's not a reason." Goku hears this from a distance. Goku holds back his laughter in the middle of his fight. Vegeta immediately turns toward Broly. He says, "What did you say?" Broly says, "I said that's not a reason." From a distance, Goku loudly says, "Broly's right, Vegeta." Vegeta angrily looks in Goku's direction. He shouts, "Kakarot, shut up!" Toppo looks at both Saiyans completely confused. He says in an irritated tone, "Can you two decide which one of you is going to fight me?" Vegeta immediately looks toward Toppo and says, "Stay out of this." Toppo's eyebrow twitches. He says, "I'm the opponent." Broly says to Vegeta, "I was fighting him first." Vegeta slowly turns toward Broly. He says, "If you have that much of a problem with it, then move me out of the way." Broly looks at Vegeta for a few seconds. Goku suddenly gets excited. He says, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." From a distance, Gohan says in surprise, "Uncle Vegeta is going to fight Broly?" Piccolo grabs his forehead and says, "The Saiyans from Universe 7 are going to fight each other in the middle of the tournament, of course." Broly clenches his fist. He says to Vegeta, "All right." Instantly, Broly rushes at Vegeta. Vegeta's eyes widen. Broly's speed is greater than he expected. Broly throws a straight punch. At the last second, Vegeta moves his head to the side and dodges it. The air pressure from the punch violently moves Vegeta's hair. Vegeta immediately punches Broly in the stomach. Broly doesn't move back. Vegeta throws a second punch. Broly grabs Vegeta's wrist. Vegeta smirks. He says, "Got me?" Suddenly, Vegeta hits Broly in the face with a knee strike. Broly lets go of his grip. Vegeta rotates and lands a spinning kick on Broly's chest. Broly slides backwards some distance. Vegeta confidently says, "Power isn't everything." Broly stands upright. He says, "Toppo said the same thing." Vegeta's expression instantly becomes irritated. From a distance, Goku says with a laugh, "That was a good one." Vegeta angrily says, "Kakarot!" Broly charges at Vegeta again. Vegeta also rushes forward. Their fists collide. Boom! A massive shockwave spreads across the nearby arena. The upper section of Toppo's cape-like uniform moves from the air pressure. Toppo himself looks at both of them in annoyance. He says, "What am I even looking at here?" Gohan is shocked. He says, "Base Broly is directly matching Vegeta's punch?" Piccolo says seriously, "Vegeta isn't using his full power yet." Gohan says, "Neither is Broly." Piccolo goes silent for a few seconds. Broly and Vegeta keep their fists locked. Vegeta increases his power. Broly's muscles tense. The ground beneath both of them begins to crack. Vegeta says, "Move." Broly calmly says, "No." Vegeta grits his teeth. He increases his power even more. Broly also pushes back with force. Suddenly, Toppo moves to the side of both of them and places his massive hands on their shoulders. Toppo angrily says, "Enough." Toppo pushes both of them in opposite directions. Vegeta slides to one side, Broly slides to the other. Toppo says, "This is the tournament of power, not some family argument between you two." Vegeta angrily says, "Who said this was a family argument?" From a distance, Goku says, "Well, it did kinda look like one." Vegeta almost explodes with anger. Broly quietly looks toward Goku. Goku gives him a thumbs up. Broly looks slightly confused. Toppo takes a fighting stance in front of Vegeta. He says, "You were calling me your opponent, weren't you?" Vegeta smirks. He says, "Finally, you understand." Toppo says, "Then show me how strong you are." Vegeta moves in front of Toppo. Broly watches the two of them for a few seconds. From a distance, Gohan says to Broly, "Broly, let Vegeta have him. He's been wanting to fight Toppo for a while." Without even looking back, Vegeta immediately says, "I was not desperate to fight anyone." Goku says, "All right, Vegeta." Vegeta tightens his fist. He says to himself, "First, I'll eliminate Toppo, then Kakarot." Broly finally creates some distance from Toppo. Vegeta and Toppo rush at each other. Their fight begins. Broly slowly starts moving in another direction, but he has absolutely no idea that another warrior from Universe 11 is closely watching him. A blur passes behind Broly. Broly turns around. No one is there. The next second, the blur passes by his right side. Broly turns again. No one. Broly's eyes narrow slightly. Suddenly, a fast strike lands on his cheek. Tack! Broly's head turns to the side. He looks forward. No one is there. The next second, he gets hit in the stomach, then in the back, then on the shoulder. Broly continues feeling attacks coming from different directions. From a distance, Gohan says in shock, "That's speed." Piccolo says, "Dispo." We see Universe 11's Dispo moving around Broly at supersonic speed. Dispo briefly stops at a distance. With a confident smile, he says, "Big guy, you can play the power game with Toppo." The next moment, he disappears. Another strike lands on Broly's face. Dispo's voice comes from a different direction. But speed? A hit lands on Broly's ribs. Dispo says, "Your muscles won't help you against speed." Broly silently tries to look around, but Dispo's movement is almost invisible. Gohan carefully observes. He says, "Broly can't track him." Piccolo says, "Dispo isn't using his normal speed." Gohan asks, "Supersonic mode?" Piccolo nods. Dispo creates dozens of afterimages around Broly. He says, "Come on, catch me!" Broly throws a punch to the left. The afterimage disappears. Dispo kicks him from behind. Broly moves forward. Dispo punches him from the front. Broly tries to block, but Dispo is already on the other side. In the spectator area, Beerus says with an uncomfortable expression, "This rabbit is irritating." Whis says with a smile, "His speed is impressive." Beerus says, "More annoying than impressive." Whis looks at Broly and says, "But I think Broly is learning something." Beerus looks toward him. He says, "What?" Whis calmly says, "Watch carefully." Broly is no longer trying to follow Dispo with his eyes. He stands there quietly. Dispo continues moving around him. One hit, second hit, third hit. Broly doesn't react. Dispo says with a laugh, "Did you give up?" Broly's breathing slows down. Gohan notices from a distance. He says, "Broly is stopping himself from tracking Dispo with his eyes." Piccolo asks, "Then what is he doing?" Gohan observes Broly. A look of realization appears on his face. He says, "He's feeling his movement." Dispo rushes toward Broly's back. Broly suddenly swings his elbow backward. Dispo dodges at the last second. His eyes widen. He creates some distance and says, "Lucky shot."
Broly looks directly in his direction. Dispo's smile fades slightly. He increases his speed again. Multiple circles around Broly. Broly remains completely calm. Dispo fakes an attack from the left. The actual strike comes from the right. At the last second, Broly moves his hand. Dispo dodges and moves upward. Broly's eyes follow his movement. Dispo is shocked. He thinks, "Is he adapting to my speed?" Dispo moves even faster. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The nearby stones in the arena begin to move from the air pressure. Gohan says in shock, "Dispo is increasing his speed even more." Multiple hits land on Broly's body, but Broly gradually begins to understand the timing. One punch comes. Broly dodges. Another. Broly raises his arm and blocks. A third. Broly almost touches Dispo. Dispo immediately moves back. Frustration appears on Dispo's face. He says, "A heavy fighter like you shouldn't be able to adjust to my movement." Broly calmly says, "You keep turning from the same places." Dispo freezes. Gohan's eyes widen. Broly says in a simple tone, "You're fast, but you repeat your directions." A slight smirk appears on Piccolo's face. He says, "Looks like speed alone won't be enough." Dispo says irritably, "Oh yeah? Then try this." Dispo suddenly disappears at his maximum supersonic speed. This time, even Gohan can't properly track him. Gohan says in shock, "He disappeared." Piccolo says, "No, he's just extremely fast." Dispo delivers dozens of attacks around Broly. Shock impacts are visible across Broly's body. Broly grits his teeth. Dispo suddenly throws a kick toward Broly's face. Broly moves his head at the last second. The kick misses.
Dispo's eyes widen. Broly's hand shoots upward at lightning speed, and suddenly, Broly grabs both of Dispo's ears. Dispo shouts in shock, "Hey, let go!" Broly looks at him. Gohan is completely shocked. He says, "He caught Dispo." Dispo tries to escape Broly's grip. He says, "Let go of my ears." Broly calmly says, "Now you're slow." Dispo's face shows both humiliation and anger. He says, "I'm not slow." Broly suddenly rotates his body. Once, twice. Dispo is completely helpless. Still holding him by the ears, Broly throws him through the air with tremendous force. Dispo flies across the arena like a bullet. Toppo, who is fighting Vegeta, looks to the side for a second. He says in shock, "Dispo!" Dispo tries to regain control, but the speed and momentum are too great. He crashes directly into a giant rocky mountain-like formation in the arena. Damn! The entire rock formation cracks apart. A massive cloud of dust rises. Several fighters momentarily stop fighting and look in that direction. Gohan's eyes widen. Almost in disbelief, he says, "This is ridiculous." Piccolo looks toward him. Looking at Broly, Gohan says, "He read Dispo's speed, caught him, and then threw him that far." Piccolo says in a serious tone, "Now I understand why Goku wanted to bring him into the tournament."
Gohan says with a slightly nervous smile, "I think I understand why Uncle Vegeta didn't want to bring him." A slight smile appears on Piccolo's face. Meanwhile, the dust slowly begins to clear. Dispo tries to get up from between the shattered rocks. He is breathing heavily. His ears are irritated from being grabbed. Dispo angrily says, "He grabbed my ears." Toppo blocks Vegeta's punch and jumps backwards. He looks toward Dispo and says, "Dispo!" Dispo raises his hand and signals. He says, "I'm fine." But someone else's reaction is completely different. Jiren is standing in a quiet corner of Universe 11. Until now, Jiren had only been observing Broly. He had not interfered unnecessarily. But after seeing Dispo crash into the mountain formation, Jiren's eyes narrow. His fist slowly closes. Toppo looks in Jiren's direction. He immediately understands that Jiren is about to move. Jiren takes one step forward, then another. Broly is still looking toward the area where Dispo crashed. Suddenly, Broly feels an extremely heavy pressure on his body. He slowly turns his face. Jiren is standing in front of Broly. Broly and Jiren are face to face for the first time. Nearby fighters automatically begin creating distance. Goku stops his ongoing fight and looks toward them. There is both excitement and seriousness on his face. Goku quietly says, "Finally." Vegeta also creates some distance from Toppo. Toppo looks at Jiren without saying anything. Jiren stares directly at Broly. Broly stares back. For few seconds, neither of them says anything. Then Jiren calmly says, "You're powerful." Broly says in a simple tone, "You are too."